Hello and welcome. Today we are digging into a really huge theological question from our source material. How can you create a universe where sin is gone, like forever, but without taking away free will? It sounds impossible, right? Well, the text we're exploring today lays out a fascinating step-by-step argument for how it could be done. So let's get right to the heart of the problem. Here it is. If we're always free to choose, what's to stop the whole cycle from starting over again, even in a perfect world? How can you guarantee eternal harmony? This is the core dilemma that our source sets out to solve.
First things first, the source material really sets the scene, and the stakes are high. It makes the case that when we disobey divine commands, it's not just a small mistake, it's something that fundamentally breaks reality, leading to absolute chaos. And to really paint a picture of what that broken reality looks like, the text brings in this quote from the prophet Hosea. It describes this world of just brutal chaos, where bloodshed follows bloodshed. Yeah, that's the mess that needs a permanent fix. So how in the world does the source propose to fix this? Well, it's not by taking away our freedom. Instead, it points to a single pivotal moment in history that is meant to completely change the game for how free will actually works. Now, before we get into that, there's a specific term in the text we need to quickly clarify. It uses the phrase Jeiwi Hanium, which translates to the second person of the Trinity. For the sake of this argument, this is referring directly to Jesus Christ, and his death on the cross, that is the absolute linchpin of this entire explanation. Okay, so here's the argument. The cross is presented as the ultimate public proof of God's love. It's not some abstract idea, it's a demonstration, a powerful, visible act of love for creation that was, at that very moment, in active rebellion against him. So what does that do to people? Well, according to the text, seeing this proof of love is what sparks this massive internal shift. The whole relationship with God changes. It moves away from fear and seeing his rules as a burden, and becomes a relationship built on trust, all rooted in this incredible realization of his love. And that brings us to the next logical step. Okay, so you realize you're loved in this profound way, but how does that lead to a permanent change in behavior? Well, the argument is that it creates a completely new reason to be obedient. The source lays it out as a really clear chain of events. It's a logical progression, right? You see the proof of God's love on the cross. That experience makes you genuinely love God in return. And from that love, keeping his commandments is no longer a chore. It's something you want to do. And the final step, the text argues, is that this process leads to abandoning the very desire to sin in the first place. And this verse right here, this is presented as the engine driving the whole transformation. Obedience gets a total makeover. It stops being about fear or trying to earn a reward, and instead, it becomes the most natural, unforced expression of love. Okay, but experiencing an act of love is one thing. How can all of creation, and the source includes angelic beings in this, how can they be absolutely 100% certain that this path of loving obedience actually works, that it really leads to life and not disaster? You're going to need some ultimate proof. The argument is basically this. To get rid of sin for good, you have to get rid of every last shred of doubt about God's character and his commands. I mean, any tiny suspicion left over could just become the seed for a new rebellion down the road. So a final, undeniable piece of evidence has to be presented to everyone. And so, where does this ultimate proof come from? Well, the text points to a very specific, one-time event it calls the first resurrection. And the whole thing focuses on the martyrs, the ones who followed the command to love so completely that they died for it. They become the ultimate case study. So think about it. When these martyrs are resurrected, it's like this giant billboard for all of creation to see. It's the hard evidence that, yes, the commandments are true and you can follow them. It proves that love for God really does conquer death. All doubt is wiped away, showing that sin has finally been defeated for good. And this event, the text argues, is the final piece of the puzzle. It's what completes that internal transformation for all of creation. It perfects free will by grounding it in unshakable truth and a love that's now been proven beyond any doubt. And with no reason left to doubt, there's no reason left to disobey. All right, so after all of that, what's the end result? Now that free will has been perfected by love and truth, what does this new universe actually look like? The text actually lays out a kind of roadmap for how this all wraps up, what theologians call an eschatological sequence. It presents history as a 6,000-year period of redemption that climaxes with that first resurrection.
That event kicks off a 1,000-year kingdom, which is then followed by a final judgment that gets rid of evil permanently, and then, finally, the creation of a new heaven and a new earth. And what does that world look like? Well, it's summed up beautifully in this famous passage from Revelation. It's a completely restored creation. This isn't just a world where sin is forgiven. It's a reality where the consequences of sin, the pain, the death, the mourning, the crying, are just gone. The whole old order has passed away. And all of this leaves us with a final, really thought-provoking question. What this text is proposing is a radical redefinition of freedom. So is a will that can no longer choose evil actually free? Or is that the ultimate expression of freedom, a will so perfectly informed by truth and so motivated by love that it always and joyfully chooses what is good?